say these freak-offs lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered, to rehydrate.
Cassie told the jury that the freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worth.
We're going to learn a lot about the nature of Cassie's relationship with
Ventura just named Christina Korm as keeping tabs on her for
Something that was discussed this morning, will the media be able to see video of these?
Day 2 of testimonies in the case against Diddy has just wrapped, and the revelations are deeply disturbing. Cassie took the stand and broke down in tears as she recounted the horrific abuse she endured. She testified that Diddy forced her to engage in sex acts with escorts, and that he even made those escorts urinate on her. According to prosecutors, the abuse went far beyond anything previously known. They've now brought one of the escorts.
Witnesses were called today, including a former security officer at the hotel, where Diddy is seen on video attacking Ventura brutally. You remember that video back in 2016. The prosecutors played the video. The witness testified that Diddy tried to pay him off with a giant wad of cash. The day's second witness was a male escort. This is where it really got very juicy, who says that he was paid by Diddy numerous times to have sex with Cassie while Diddy sat there in the corner, masturbating and watched. He says he once saw Diddy throw a liquor bottle at Cassie and heard him beating her in another.
To testify, and their account backs up Cassie's. Even hotel staff have come forward, revealing that Diddy paid them off to stay silent about what was happening behind closed doors. Cassie's emotional breakdown during her testimony came as she recalled moments of extreme humiliation and violence. She said she was drugged without her knowledge. Diddy allegedly spiked her drink with ecstasy during one of what he called his freak-off sessions. These sessions, which happened multiple times.
Billy Johnson actually said that Cassie did choke on the escort when Diddy forced this escort to allegedly urinate in her mouth. They did say inner circle numerous times, I believe, really trying to amplify the RICO charges. Diddy couldn't have done all of it without his inner circle, right? Without his bodyguard, without his driver, without his assistant. They talked about alleged kidnappings. That one time he kidnapped his assistant to go and try to find Cassie when he thought Cassie was cheating. I mean, it was wild. I feel like I could go on forever, but I won't. At a certain point, wasn't able to perform for Diddy and Cassie. He got erectile dysfunction because of what he saw. He said he saw Diddy at one point after dragged Cassie by the hair from her computer seat all the way back to her bedroom while she was kicking and screaming and crying. And after she apologized and came out, he said that Diddy said, okay, you guys want to continue? And he couldn't perform. And he could not perform after that. And he saw Diddy use Cassie 2 or 3 more times after that as well. And this is a muscular guy. He was 41 years old, a bit smaller, but again, he seemed incredibly affected by what he saw.
And was there, just quickly, Lauren, was there a point where he talked about, because I was trying to follow the blogs, again, it's hard, you were in there, it's difficult for us on the outside. Did he talk about Cassie at one point being under the influence of drugs to the point that she was slumped over, and Diddy still wanted him to have
a month could last anywhere from 1 to 4 days and often left Cassie so exhausted she needed IV fluids to recover. She was only 22 when Diddy began forcing her to take part in these drug-fueled orgies. According to her, Diddy would beat, punch, and drag her if she refused to participate. He also forced her to perform sex acts with multiple escorts while he watched, sessions that Cassie believed were frequently recorded. One of the escorts, identified as David, testified that what he witnessed was too much to ignore.
After told the jury that Diddy forced her into drug-fueled sex acts with male escorts while he watched, sometimes sitting in the corner and masturbating. Through tears, she said she took drugs to numb herself, ecstasy, cocaine, and ketamine, all of it allegedly supplied by Diddy. She said the freak-offs included as many as 4 male escorts at once and typically lasted 36 to 72 hours. The longest, she said, the longest freak off that she says she was forced to perform in lasted 4 days. She said they took place around the world, from New York to Miami to Spain to even Turks and Caicos. And at every stop, Cassie said the hotel rooms were stocked by Diddy's staff with baby oil, condoms, and drugs. And she says that these hotel rooms, this is disgusting, the hotel rooms were left covered in baby oil and covered in blood and covered in urine. Cassie told the jury that the freak-offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated and worthless. But she said she couldn't say no because she says Diddy threatened to release videos of the freak-offs with
They broke for lunch. Cassie Ventura described how freak-offs actually became a job, lasting 36 to 48 hours, the longest one lasting up to 4 days. No wonder the participants needed IV fluids after a freak-off. I'm just curious, to Lauren Collin joining us at the courthouse, how was the jury responding?
What I will say is Cassie made a point to say that when she wasn't making music, she was actually having to, quote, recover from these freak-offs. And again, she did say these freak-offs lasted between 1 and 4 days, and it would take her an equal amount of time to get her body recovered, to rehydrate, to rest, to detox from these drugs.
After seeing Diddy physically assault Cassie, David said he refused to continue. Even the other escorts became uncomfortable after witnessing the abuse. Cassie claimed that some of them even expressed concern for her safety. Prosecutors allege that Diddy didn't act alone. His chief of staff, bodyguards, and even hotel employees were allegedly part of a larger cover-up. In one instance, Diddy reportedly kidnapped Cassie when she tried to escape. These new details...
She said on the stand, at one point she said that a male escort had urinated in her mouth and she actually choked on it. And it was at that point someone in the courtroom actually had to walk out of the door there while, Diddy sat at the defense listening on here. But as she was describing these events where she said that there were multiple male escorts that were happening at one time, these freak-offs would happen for 2, 3, the longest 4 days at a time. And control is the word we need to talk about. That is what prosecutors really laid out. And you heard Cassie describe how every action during these freak-offs, which were between her and male escorts, not necessarily between her and her boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs. He sat off to the side, really directing things according to her and navigating along with what he wanted to see. But he was in control, she said, of exactly how they did everything, from the platform shoes that she needed to wear, the clothes that she needed to wear occasionally, masks, wigs, whether or not male escort could ejaculate, where he could ejaculate. Everything she said was controlled by him. Mind you, Brian, his children, 6 children, are in the courtroom at this point listening to all of this, and the jury was picked knowing that they needed a certain level of comfort to hear these types of descriptions. It was very emotional and really tough to hear.
Paint a horrifying picture of what Cassie went through, one that's difficult to hear but necessary to confront. The case is still unfolding, and more testimonies are expected in the coming days.
He saw Diddy beat Cassie. He could no longer, perform and be engaged, because before he said even if they hadn't paid him, he was excited to be part of their world. He was enjoying that kind of activity with them. And then things started changing when he saw one time he was on the couch, Cassie was at her computer, and Diddy, he said, was in Cassie's bedroom. Now, Diddy apparently called out to Cassie to come into the bedroom, and she allegedly told him, just hold on a second, my personal information's on the computer. Now, Daniel describes being absolutely shocked when all of a sudden a liquor bottle, Diddy throws it from across the room right toward Cassie, and then he comes running towards her, grabs her by her hair, drags her into her bedroom, and tells her, when I tell you to come, you don't wait, you just come when I tell you. And he says he then heard, after the doors closed, Diddy slapping her, beating her, yelling at her, and Cassie screaming out, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he says he was just kind of frozen in place. He didn't know what to do. And prosecutors asked him, why didn't you intervene? Why didn't you go inside? And he said, look, I know this is somebody with a lot of resources. Quite frankly, I was afraid for my life. Now that drew a lot of objections from the defense, but the judge allowed that testimony. And he again reiterated that he was scared in that moment for Cassie, feeling like she was in a dangerous situation, but he didn't feel it was safe enough for him to intervene.
Saw in that awful video from the Intercontinental was bad, but to hear the actual graphic details of what Cassie and others endured day after day for years is just completely heartbreaking. And to hear the sex worker actually try to offer her aid when, she was being beat. She went to him for solace, as opposed to the person who supposedly loves and cares about her. She had to jump into the arms of a sex worker, and he was literally like, this is not okay. You need to leave this relationship. And she did, unfortunately, what so many survivors do, which is, I'm okay, it's gonna be okay. Basically, I can handle this. And the reality is she really needed to get out because she was being violated and degraded in so many different ways. And my heart just breaks for her so much.
Melba, ours do as well. What's it going to be like today when she is perhaps called? We think that she's going to be witness number 3. We have a clip where we caught up with her lawyer outside of the courthouse on Monday. Let's take a quick look.
How is Cassie? Is she emotional? Is she feeling okay with this? Is she nervous?
She's ready.
She is ready. She's also pregnant, God bless her, and visibly pregnant too. So in the later stages of her pregnancy.
Ventura just named Christina Korm as keeping tabs on her for Diddy. Cassie Ventura is giving her testimony against Diddy right now in his trial, and she just name dropped Diddy's ex-chief of staff, Christina Korm. Cassie Ventura started her testimony about her early relationship with Diddy, and she even admitted at the very beginning she took E without knowing because it was in a Gatorade bottle. Then she went on to describe the abuse that would start happening to her and how Diddy would keep tabs on her. The government asked Cassie Ventura, how did Diddy keep tabs on you? And she said, we didn't live far apart. He'd send security to come find me or a trusted assistant. Like who? David James or Christina Korm. And we know that Diddy's ex-chief of staff, Christina Korm, has been named in multiple civil lawsuits with Diddy. So the fact that Cassie Ventura just listed her literally sent chills all the way up my spine. Because back in 2018 and prior, during Cassie and Diddy's relationship, I didn't even know if Christina Korm at this time would have any part in any of this. Cassie Ventura points out at this time, Christina Korm was only an assistant for Diddy. She wasn't even Diddy's chief of staff during this time. And I already know that this will not be the last that we hear about Christina Korm. I just didn't know it was happening this early on. Diddy's ex-assistant, Philip Pines, who was on the fall for Diddy, admitted that he testified to the grand jury against Diddy, and he showed us so many pieces of evidence in his documentary interview. He showed text messages between him and Christina Korm of Christina Korm asking for all of these